All right, so I looked at where you were at last week and realized the lab assignment was, and I've known this for a while about this lab assignment, that lab six was overly packed. And so after years and years of actually not doing it, I finally did it now, and I've split this lab into two parts. So it's a new lab seven that you have this week. You have more labs now, but that eight, nine, this should be 10. These labs, I'm looking at what, because I pulled a piece out of, I think, what was eight, now nine. So your labs, I'm rejiggering the labs right now to make more sense now that I've made this decision. So effectively, your lab six only basically includes the list runner and the Plinko machine. So you get those pieces done, and that lab basically, if we look at lab six now, here's the documents. It's now called Give Me Points as well. So you got a nice YouTube video to watch as well. I think it's Plinko. But yeah, no, basically it get down to end of Plinko, and that's it. So combat has been moved out of this assignment completely and into this new lab seven. So close. There we go. All right. So in the future, this object-to-object question. Again, this remember again the if we go to this again, what I want to remind you. Come on. When we get down here, here's an example. We have a collision or a trigger enter, and this cube is the piece that we picked up on. This game object doesn't have the rigid body, doesn't have the script, and so in order to go from here up to that object, we would be so basically what we'd be saying is. So we would get other, which would be this collider. We would ask its game object, and then ask for get component in parent. And what that means, again, with that version, we will get. So it'll check here, be like, I can't find. Again, we'll be asking for the script. In that case, would be the tank script or the combat controller script in this case. And what would happen is that it wouldn't find it here. It'd be like, well, it does have a parent. I'll check the parent. And it will go up the line until it finds instance of that script. And if it gets to the world and it doesn't find anything, it returns back a null, meaning that it didn't find this object doesn't have that script. Again, I want to remember that we are working with, again, when we step back on a bigger view, we want to build entities. Again, our pieces of our game are entities. So again, for the soccer game, it was our player, it was our net, it was our ball. For the Plinko, it was right now we have the disc spawner machine, but the machine has slots, and then we had the Plinko discs. The slots were just looking for the discs, and again, the code for those discs had nothing in it. I mean, it was just structural. It was a component that we added to the disk so that we could encode ask for that component. And I go in and I know that in some places, I could be criticized for that. But again, the way that we're building right now is that we're defining our entities by a script at its root that we can identify. And this is more akin to how you would work in Unreal and other engines as well, is that you would define that there is a definition of you define your entity in a particular way and you go off in that direction. And this is going to be important. This is an important way to work because it allows you to move towards other engines easily. So, which you're going to need to. So, I think the one thing that I'm gonna say here, we're talking. You'll hear people talk about interfaces. When you make, again, here we go. Here's the example. Here is an integer that has been made public. Making the integer public is your interface. It's a lazy. It is sloppy. You will get yelled at in some cases for doing this. particularly in more secure programming scenarios. This is not how you would program. But there is a place and time where you basically we're saying this variable is public, and by making it public, that is the interface to it. It's not, and people and I know the people who are teaching encapsulation are cringing and gripping straws at me at this moment. The idea behind having interfaces is that you control what is being put into that variable, and you can control the state of that variable. We'll probably talk more. This is not, again. There's a lot right now. Yeah, I'm just gonna say right now, using public is your interface. It is, again, quick. It's easy. It is sloppy, and there are issues that can result from that. But where you are right now, just using public is perfectly fine. So, yeah. So someone who's, yeah. All right. Let's get back to our modules. All right. The new thing. So Lab 7 is basically I'm going to do the whole lab from scratch. We're going to make that because one of the things that I want, one of the things I did not get to was about reordering and rejiggering your input and how you handle input. For your benefit, I've given you two classes. Input data and input polar. So input polar is a CS file class. Do I have this in the package? I do. Okay. So let me jump into Unity. I do need to mention. Oh, why is this? So one of the things that I do need to mention while we're here is that Unity found last week they found a security issue, and it goes back to literally to Unity 2017, like 8 years of projects, and yeah. Good news: if you update to the latest version of Unity, that goes away. That security risk goes away. There's a way to patch stuff. If you can't do that, then you can patch stuff. The latest version is for us will end up being 58. So at some point in this room, you will see that we're going to move to 58, just because of that security issue. So we're not dealing with that. But for now, we're not building any applications. We're not putting anything on the web or anywhere else. So we're not going to be too concerned about. We're not concerned about that security risk right now. We will be in a few weeks. So at some point, so just be forewarned. Get up to 58. Start working there at some point. All right. Boom, boom. Jump in Unity. We just go. Yeah, I think the first part of labs. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. One of the things we're going to do this week is actually we're going to support gamepads. So I have gamepad here. I got to get the correct cord for it. This is interesting. I am missing the USB cords. We'll worry about this later. I just want to point out that a gamepad is normally defined as a device with 2 thumbsticks, a D-pad, 4 face buttons, and additionally have 2 shoulder buttons, 2 trigger buttons, and 2 buttons in the middle. They can have additional controls, which the device can well, but all gamepads are guaranteed to have at least the minimum set of controls described above. And that's the here. It's like, the school start controller should look identical which platform is supported on. Gamepad south button should always be the southernmost face button. So they have things to help you, and so we go through here. They have the basic controls that they are going to support in this generic class. Left stick, right stick, D-pad, north button, south button, west, east. The shoulder trigger, start, select, left stick button, right stick button. So again, your thumbsticks are buttons as well. You can press down on them. So buttons are also floating point axes. That's interesting. Left and right triggers as buttons as well as floating point axes. So that's a new note here. You can access index property, so they can do gamepad button, left shoulder. This is examples. Actually, this is not how you go about writing it. I've got better examples. Yeah. Yeah, this is hard coding. Don't follow this example per se. But let's go back. Let me jump into our code. So I'm going to add this to. So I'm going to add the data input polar classes to combat because that's where we're going to use them. All right. So I'm going to go over. So I showed you what the gamepad has in terms of values. Here is a structure. So like a vector 3, like a vector 2, those are structures. This mirrors the Unity gamepad class. So we got left stick, right stick. So we've got basically values here, floats, vector 2s, D-pads. And we have one method that's part of the structure that basically creates a clean data structure. And I probably could rename this create clean struct. I mean that could be named a little bit better. But this basically gives us back a data structure, structure of our data input data type. Where we basically signed everything to their default, like no input has been made. And we'll jump over to the input polar. And it's pretty much, again, the first thing is that this is a singleton. So you only need one instance of this class anywhere in your application at any given time. All right, multiple versions of this component on things in your scene doesn't make sense. So this is what this is doing. It's just basically defining this as a singleton. But then you have get input. And the only change, you've seen, we've written this before. I mean, it's pretty much straightforward. But the only difference is that it's returning back this input data structure that we have. And if you look right here, I mean, this is basically going to the gamepad right now. So 0 is going to be your gamepad. 1 is keyboard map to the gamepad. So think WSAD and IJKL. So it's the whole. I then went and did a 2 and 3 where the keyboard is left Joy-Con mapped to gamepad and keyboard right as the right so Nintendo gamepad, Nintendo Joy-Cons. So if you wanted to do multiplayer on the keyboard, you can do 2 and 3. So. But essentially, again, get input, it is, hey, get player number, get input number. We've done this code already. So what we're doing is we're going to take all that code out of your controller class, and we're move it into this singleton, this system. So this is the first place where you're going to be reusing a system that's been built. That's not like a Unity system. This is a system all to itself. Its purpose is to gather data, pull the input, and give you a structure that gives you, here's what the current data looks like. And I'm basically going with what's pressed all of these. You know, I've got left stick, right stick. So again, for all the buttons, I'm going with what's pressed this frame. What's nice is if you need to go in here and you need to like change up how you're going to do your input, you can say like, hey, the West button, we don't want was pressed. We want to do that is pressed or was released. So you can go in here, and again, I'm giving you the code. This is for you to use, but you can go in here and change this as you see fit. So this is a benefit to you. So P0 is gamepad. P1 is going to be keyboard. P2 is going to be, again, it is WSAD. And P3 is IJKL. And I got start, you know, and I got the face buttons, cardinal buttons, and I got start select effectively set up. So you've got left stick, buttons, and start select. So you've got 6 buttons effectively. All on the, and this is, and again, unlike older systems, this will actually work. So here's your input puller class. And I've got some data down here about the Joy-Cons, just because I needed it when I built these. So let's go back to Unity right now, and let's start. First thing is that you are going to create an empty object. It's going to be, just call it input puller, and put the script on there. And that's all you need to do to set that into the scene. Make sure it is at. So again, right now it's randomly in the world. I mean, it doesn't really matter where it is in the world, but ideally something like this should be at the origin for right now or close to it. And I'm just going to go and give it, I'll give it a green tag. So where is it? There we go. So you can see that now, hey, I got something I can click on. And I might move, actually, I'm going to move this up 5 units. Not 5, 2 units. There you go. So it's not in the ground. So there we go. We have set up that system so we can use it. So again, so I'm going to now go into the combat controller. All right. So there are a couple things that we needed to do that I didn't do. Should I just do this from scratch? Yeah, I'm gonna redo this class completely. So I'm going to go back to the rigid body mover. And I'm going to grab all of this in here. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go back up. Because I'm not going to copy any of this. Well, let me copy the whole class. We'll start from there again. All right. So first things first. So we have check input, that's our get input. I'm literally going to take this and then the check input for all these P1, P2, P3. We're going to take this all out of our, so right now the last line is on 178. When I delete it, it's going to go to 87. So we're literally losing 90 lines of code out of this class. And that's going to make our lives much more easier. Check input right now is not working, and we'll come to this in one moment. I don't need any input variables because ultimately that input is that input data. I'm just going to call it input. that's everything. That structure is going to be all those variables. I've collected all those variables and more, and I've put them into a structure for us to use. I still want my player input number. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. So now the next line of code is going to be down here. It's going to be input. And it's going to be equal to the class input polar. And it's going to be, what do we call it? Let me close these for a moment. And again, what we're looking for is the variable called reference. And then we're going to get input by player number. And we can take this line out now. So now, just right here, so what's going on is that because it's a singleton, we work through a static variable. When we need something static to a class, it means that the class holds onto it and not any particular individual reference. So now we can go north movement, and that's going to be ultimately going to be, in fact, we actually can take all, so we can actually, so again, north movement, south movement, that's going to be on our thumbstick. So we can actually grab move player, copy it, and instead of giving a value right here, we can go to our input left stick dot y, because we're only giving it a value right now. Extra credit. Rewrite move player, where you take the whole vector 2 and you enable strafing. So that's extra credit right there in this assignment. That means we can take these guys out, and with rotate player, we can take these out now. We can just go right to our input. This is going to be a right stick dot z, not z, dot x. Is that? Yeah, that's how we're going to set it up. So you might consider. Yeah, we'll use the right stick in this case. All right. So moving on. So that basically gets in the place where we got rotate player. We're using move player. Here is a move player where we're using what am I doing here? Oh, here's the example that we created in space. I'm going to take this out because we're not actually going to use this. So I'm just cleaning it up. So things that we need to add. We know that we need a public game object projectile prefab. So this is duplicating work that we did last week. Actually not. This will be a transform. Let's call it the projectile spawn point. We do need a public bool is fire 1 enabled. I'm going to just set these to true. We do need another one is fire 2 enabled. I'm just going to jump down here. We do a couple more functions. Void fire 1. Fire 2. And this is traditions of old. We want a public Do we need public? No, we don't need public. Void fire projectile. We do need a void raycast attack. And this function, we're not going to use this. So fire 2 and raycast attack, we're not going to use this week, but we will next week. We can do a debug. .log. And that needs to be a period. I'm just gonna I'm putting this in here. So I'm going to set up the commands for these. So again, the part of the code is that we want to make sure that if fire 1 is enabled. So again, the first question is if input, and we'll do the north button north, and fire 1 is enabled. We'll go fire 1, and then I'll copy this over. So this will be button east, and fire 2 is enabled. We'll call fire 2. There is a place where you could, this is in theory, again, I'm going to put my fire projectile in here, and then raycast attack down here. For our purposes right now, I mean, there are some people be like, why are you making so many functions, first of all? It's just how I work. And there's places, this gives you places to, if you wanted to do things with like inheritance, it gives you options. So for the most part, for our purposes right now, I mean, this is how I'm going to write the code. Fire projectile, again, for our purposes right now, what we're going to go in and basically is going to game object call it projectile, and we'll call it instantiate. And it's going to be the projectile prefab. It's going to be the projectile spawn point dot transform, not transform dot position. Again, because we asked for a transform, we can skip being, game object dot transform. And what's good about Unity is you can give a game object, if you ask for a transform variable and you want that assigned in the editor, you can then just give it a game object and it will take that transform automatically. So doing a little extra, making our, and then I want the projectile spawn point dot rotation. Unlike the Plinko machine, I'm going to basically say that I'm not going to have a place like another parent, another object to put those in. We might decide later on that's probably something we probably should do, but for right now, I'm not going to worry about putting it in another parent and just to tuck it away. And we terminate the line. And you can see how this literally has cleaned up so much of our code. I mean, even we're now down to 94. We've added about 20 lines of code. Most of it is in Fire, but we're now at 71. We went from 78 to 71 lines of code before adding these guys in. And we also took out some more code that we weren't using as well. So, So again, we've got, we don't need move distance anymore. I don't know why that's there. But ultimately, here is what our code's going to look again. Because we have a singleton, we create a static variable that is assigned to the instance of the class. But we shove that into the class itself so we can get access to it through that reference variable. And then that's how we got, get input as public. It's how we got access to it. And again, taking the player number. So now in the editor, we again set up player 2, player, our different players. If I were to go using like the player 2, player 3, the Joy-Cons, I'd have to change how I am doing rotate player. I'd have to maybe put this on left stick .x. So just note right now, can work with this on the keyboard, but ultimately in the end, if we were to go to the Joy-Cons, we'd have to switch this up. But that's for your consideration. We can close the input polar. So this is really again, this week's lectures is much lighter because the goal here is to change up how you're doing your input, and to start using, again, I'm giving you this now. I mean, you can write, the input polar, this class right here. I mean, ultimately, you could write this right now. You haven't got yet, but everything down here, the get input, the get input 0, all of these, you could have written yourself. Bottom line, you could have written all this code. It'd be busybody work, but ultimately, I'm just cutting into like it's busybody work. I'd rather you write like this is code you can understand and read, and should be able to understand and read at this point in the class. I'm not going to make you write this code because it would spend a couple hour or two writing this code. For what benefit when I can, when I've got this code already written for you. So this is a this is not, so here's the other thing I want to point out is that this works and does what we want to do. It's not, I'm not sure I would say this is like maybe a couple steps away from production. So it's not a full production setup code, but it's pretty close. It's pretty good. For prototyping, getting things up and running right now, it does what it needs to do. The big thing that this code does not do is support multiple gamepads. It only supports the first gamepad connected to the PC. You should be aware about that. All right, so let's just go back to Unity. Let's go back to our tank controller. Again, I need to reassign the projectile prefab because we rewrote the whole script effectively. Here's file 1, fire to enable. And for right now, those will remain on. And then we'll go to the spawn point. We'll just open up here's our fire point that we wanted again. And we're pretty much back to where we were, but with new control systems. And I'll save my scene, press play. As you can see, it's moving. I gotta use J and K. So I'm basically playing a 2-stick shooter at the moment. So I actually might move back. Well, we'll talk. We'll talk maybe. I'll ask questions in a moment. And then we'll fire. What are my buttons? Oh, I gotta go in and add. So I'm using player input number 1. This is what it's being called. What's going on here that's not happening? Who can see it? Answer for one of you guys. If I'm using north button to fire and east button to call fire 2 for the raycast attack eventually, what am I not doing here? Speak up. Yep, not checking for that input at all. Let me just jump down into. I'm gonna grab. I'm gonna put Q, E, C, and Z. So basically, Q is going to be north, east is going to be east, C is going to be the south key, and Z. So think you've rotated the cardinal degrees by 45 degrees in one direction. So I need to put these in to get those buttons. So something you do in your assignment this week. Again, I will update the file. So if you grab the file before I can update it on Canvas, you'll need to copy this in. I will update the file on Canvas so that these buttons are here. So now that I've got that, let's go back. And it's yelling because I changed stuff got changed. And you can see there is fire 1, fire projectile. You can see. Why is it? Oh, they're all is pressed. I want was pressed this frame. So I'm not doing. So basically, I had the machine gun in every single frame. It was putting out a new projectile. So there we go. And these is because class got don't worry about these no reference exceptions because. So there we go. You can see fire 2 raycast attack, which we'll pick up next week. So far so good. Let's take a look at the projectile. Let's improve what the projectile is doing. Give it a little more flair. So here is the basic projectile. And so right now is when it on trigger enter, it's telling you what it hit, and then it's asking, hey, we're going to shred the object. Before we do that, I am going to put in a public game object. This is going to be a, if I can spell public correctly, help. I'm just going to call it death decal. And what we're going to basically do is let's call instantiate the death decal, and it will be our game object. And this is the case where you need to use transform. Transform.position. But it's trying to just a quaternion identity. This is basically says with no rotation. We could, but we could go with game object transform.rotation. So we'll maintain the rotation that we have. Again, we're not rotating. Again, the way it's 2D game. We're playing on a plane for effectively. We can save that. That should be good. We should be okay. Again, I'm running in the editor. So let's go back to our project. Again, here's our projectile. I'm going to lock this for one moment. So here is, so this is the death decal. Again, in combat, we've got, I'm going to use the explosion red, which I have prefab already. Just going to make sure, go in, and I'm going to unlock the editor now. And I'm just going to make sure I turn off the box collider on that. If I don't do that, particularly with the raycast, they will start stacking upon each other. When I kill other things, like later on, in fact, actually, let's go in. Now that we've done that, let's actually do, this is something we do later on. Let's go to the combat control. Let's do it for as well. We can put in a public game object death decal. Let's move this up. There we go. What I haven't written right now is a void reset. I don't need private. So one of the things that is going to be, you're going to be asked. So again, I'm going to just, there's going to be a vector 3 starting location. This is going to be a quaternion starting rotation. So basically right now, as we are moving on, when you hit another player with one of your weapons, you're gonna call reset on them. And I'm actually gonna pull, this is actually in another lab, but I'm gonna actually pull this into this lab right now. So expect this lab document to be updated with that information. So in start, again, we'll get our information. So starting location is going to be our, again, game object.transform. And I'm just going to get the line. Starting rotation is equal to our game object transformed up rotation. I'm going to grab these two lines of code because we're going to flip them. So there we got this as well. So note, we are moving the object in this case. So before we move the object, let's drop our death decal into the world. So it'll be instantiate the death decal. Position. There we go. So again, it's going to be the game object transform.position, game object transform.rotation. So where we are, again, how we were rotated is where we're going to get our death decal. So we're dropping our death decal. And the other thing that we can go and do would be like, we'll make it public. Public ints deaths. So we can go down and be like, hey, deaths plus. And if we want, we can do a debug. Player, we'll just use the player input number. So again, I'm just basically, hey, the player X has died. S, whatever that death value is times. So let's jump back to the basic projectile now. So this is, again, this is instantiate and destroy right here. I mean, those are the last two lines of code we're going to do. What we can now do is we can ask, hey, so we'll do combat controller, just call it CC. And this is a other game object, get component and parent. And again, Visual Studio is going to suggest this for us automatically because of this. So we're going to ask for the class of the combat controller. So if we hit a wall, it's not a combat controller. This code's not, this now if CC hit a player. Yeah, I am going to go back up to the combat controller. So I am going to make one change, and I'm going to go to the left stick instead. Think Joy-Cons only have one has only one thumbstick. So I'm going to do, move forward and move left, right. So basically in the game, I'm going to go to 2 and 3. So that's why I'm making that change here. Go back, make sure I've saved this. So now the next step is how we hit the player. We'll come back here and call the reset function next. But I just want you to see that we're hitting the player first before we do anything. So let's jump in. And we'll call this player 1. And then I'm going to duplicate the object. And I'll put this at 12. So over here. Make sure this is a 0. Do -6. No, I'll just put this at 0. I'll make you are at 0. Grab the. So do negative. Make sure these are exact values. What's the prefab? Why does that feel? Okay. So I am going to go in and I'm just going to basically grab my crayon materials, and I'm going to I'll make this one red. I'll make this one blue. Just so traditions. I can use. No, it's too light. I'll just use blue. Not gonna worry. So now I've got, and I'll just turn this one to player 2. Again, I'm gonna make this one going to be input number 2. It's going to input player 3. Now see. So I've got my 2 players. What? Oh, okay. I know what I need to do. I gotta go look at so one of the things I need to take a look at is how I'm using the input puller again. So I'm down here, and again, I'm using is pressed and not was pressed this frame. So let me go in and just So I will definitely update this. So when you grab the input poller, check if these changes have been made. If they're not, you're gonna have to make them yourselves, or wait when I upload it. I will upload this file to Canvas after this lecture. So again, this is like, hey, this is again. I found that I didn't want the button to work in a particular way. I could go back to this class and change it on the fly. So now they're all on press this frame. We'll jump back. What's going on? Let's take a look at my... Oh, I haven't set depth decals yet, but that we'll come back to that in one moment. Why is the projectile not? Oh, okay, they're just hidden under stuff. So this is a case where let's go to in this case we're going to go to the, let's see, where is prototype combat. So I'm actually going to make this, make these bigger. There we go. Now we're starting to see them. So again, there we go. So these are now starting to show up. So the one thing that's not happening with basically with these prefabs now, so they're not removing from the world. So all right, now I am literally littering the world with, and they're not going away. Let's do this pretty quickly. Let's go to our combat application, and this is a simple script. It's going to be a new model behavior script. Just call it object lifetime, and won't need an update because it's just going to be, in this case, it's just going to be public float lifetime. And this is going to be destroy game object, comma, lifetime. So in theory, so in theory here, I mean, we've written this script so that, you know, and you'll find you'll write like basically single serving jacks essentially. This is just going to add a lifetime to the object. So I'm going to, again, I'll save this. I'll jump back to Unity. Again, let's go to the combat. So in this case, I'm going to make this just slightly smaller, do 2.5, and then we'll add component object lifetime. And we'll set a value here. We'll say 2.5 seconds. So now that we've got that in place, I mean, we can really go and we can then remove the component. We can really remove the box color because we don't need it, because this is just barely, this is obviously just a visual component. Something that we'll do with the other explosion in one moment. And then we'll go press play. You can see that now they're starting to go away. You can see that now these are all those decals are going away. So cool. So things that we would be doing. I know these are part of future labs, but I'm going to have you do this now because we got time. Like, hey, let's get the final piece here. Let's get the reset going. All right. So in order, first we need to go to the creator prefab. Again, remove its collider because it's not, because otherwise, actually, I'm going to leave the collider on. I'm going to let you see what happens when we don't remove the collider. But I am going to, we do need the component of object lifetime 2.5. And then we've got to go back to the tank and set that to the death decal. All right. Just going to point out, here's what the death decal looks like. So we're only going to look from the top, so we're not too concerned about, the sides. We're not going to see that. So, we're just only concerned with the top. So that's what the tank is going to look like. Again, we've got these guys. These we're not using right now. We'll use these next week. But we will use what's called, there's a prefab called Yamcha. And it is a joke. He does fit in the crater. I went there. Later on, we're going to create another character type that is basically a human being type. So you're going to, and we'll set them up. So this is the death decal. I am just going to, for the sake of argument, I'm going to remove the collider now, and I'm going to add the lifetime. And we're using 2.5 seems to be our magic number for these decals. Oh, I did this in the world. Hold on. Let me delete these. So I want to delete the box collider here, and then add the lifetime component. So this is ready to go. And I'm going to save the scene, and I'm also going to save the project. And that's just on, making sure that what's going on. Let's go back to our code. So the last piece of code that we needed to write was in the combat controller. It is literally one line of code. This is in... Yeah, this is the reset. Actually, it's in the projectile. So it's here. This is where we want to go. CC dot... And what I didn't do in the combat controller is made this public, because we need to access it in the other class. So now we go back. You can see reset it. So, as we go on, we'll be doing things such as, hey, this class has a public combat controller owner. So who's responsible for this projectile? And we'll set that up pretty quickly. So this is not going to be part of your assignment, but this is like future if you're doing like an FPS. Like, hey, who are you owning? The combat controller in this case, when it, again, notice how I got the projectile in this case. So we can do basic. BP, is it going to be projectile get component? And now we can go BP owner is going to be equal to this. Call this new projectile. And this will be... Ugh, what are you doing? There you go. New projectile object. And this will be new projectile script. I'll just call it projectile script. I'll call it lowercase p. Actually, you can take out the new. And then there we go. So basically by doing that, I've made my code significantly easier to read. So again, when you call instantiate, it does return back the object that you create. So what I've got here is what we would refer to as a factory in other scenarios. It is a method to create other objects effectively. And you can have objects that are just factories, that their whole purpose is to create other things and set them up properly. And as you go on, this is going to be common with what you're going to write with your code. So like what we can do, again, back to the basic projectile, we hit a player. We can now say, hey, back in our combat controller, we can go in and basically put in now a public int kills. And then we'll do a public float KD ratio. We'll set that to 0. And we could have a function that calculates the KD ratio for us. But anyways, moving on. Moving on. But essentially, now we've done that, we can actually go and be like, hey, owner, kills plus plus. And then we'll grab debug.log. And right now we're using debug log to say player owner player input number. And it's yelling because I need a plus sign. Killed player plus CC player input number. Again, right now we're dealing with, hey, single hit, single kill type stuff. So something. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not sure where that's something editor has gone wrong, and that's this is not part of our runtime. So you can see fire projectile hit capsule 2, hit a player, player 2 hit player 3. Player 3 has died 1 time. We go to our player 1, you can see we got a kill, and then down here we have a death. Again, I'm not doing my KD ratio just yet, but you can see where this is going. You can see, boom, it jumped it back into place. And this is, the start of where we're going. So it shouldn't, once we've got this object up and going, it shouldn't be too hard to get the reset. You've done the reset already on the soccer ball, so doing the reset here won't be too hard. I mean, it's just a few more lines of code that you would have set up anyways. The death decals are cool. They add to the game. Again, we're on our way to next step would be adding sound. There's a whole there's a lecture just for that portion. Um, do I want to pull that in right now? Show of hands. Who wants to see doing sound right now? No one. So put your hand up if you want to see sound added to this project quickly. All right, let's do this. I'm going to show this to you now. I'm not sure if it's not part of your lab this week, it will be part of a future lab. So let's have fun. So let's go back to go grab files. Here we go. Download and descent. Do we have, this is the lab 8. And let's just grab this as well. Okay. Stop. Let's jump into combat. All right, audio examples. Descent. Pew. And that. Okay. So let's talk about audio for a moment. There's several formats. Descent is an MP3 file format, so you can use that as for music. BAP and Pew are WAV files. WAV. So there are other file formats you can use. There's a ton of them. So Uni is good about supporting different file formats. For music, we're gonna just drag into the scene, and it created. Where did it create it? Where? Okay, so it add. All right, let me undo that. Let's create. This is going to be level music, and I'm going to drag it onto here. So when I drag the MP file, it created a audio source component. And through the audio source component, we can control things such as, does it loop? And this should loop. Does it play on wake? It should play on wake. Priority, this is like, I've never had a need to play with priority. How loud is it? So this is full blast, 0 be quiet, not playing it, no volume. You can change the pitch. We will look at that in one moment. Stereo pan, is it left, right channel stuff. Typically, I'm not playing with stereo pan. Spatial blend. Is it a 2D sound? So it's playing as normal. So is this being music? It's going to be 2D sound. But in fact, or is it playing within the world? So this is on an object in the world, and if we go to our camera, there is the audio listener. So this is the component that is listening for audio that is being played in the world. For our purposes right now, our camera is, so again, we'll go up here. Our camera is way up here in the world. So it's not like the first person, let me bring in that template. Prefabs. So I'm just, not him. Combat. Here we go. So I bring in him instead, and we need to pull him up one. Camera's inside the object itself, and if we could look at the camera, here's its audio center. So this is the camera is in the world where we're at. Unfortunately, that's not helpful because the camera is way up here in this case, in terms of the arena prefab. So unfortunately, like our sounds, we're gonna play them in 2D space because it doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't make sense otherwise. And we get a nice. And let's there we go. Make this 4. And this still has the component. There we go. There we go. There we go. So I've never really had to play with zone reverse or this 3D sound settings. So they're here things you can play with, but for our purposes right now. And if I go press play, you will hear music. And I am at full volume. Okay. So great, I have music in my room. For those who are for purposes, that's in Comtech, so it's royalty-free music. Again, I'm going to go down. I'm going to bring the volume down to 0.3. So because I want us to, still play the music, but I still want pitch. I'll play with that in real time. So I can change. So I can change the pitch. Bring that back to 1. That will be useful later on when we're using the same sound effect over and over again. So when we play, we'll play with a different pitch value. So typically the range, depending, like 0.85 to 0.115 is a very large range. That's a very extreme range, but you can typically see somewhere between 0.9 and 0.11. Sorry, 1.1 should be like there's a 1/10 up and down. So we'll deal with that sound effect in one moment. So in order to use the audio resource, you need an audio clip. Let's go back to Combat. The WAV file, the MP3, these all get brought in as an audio clip. Pretty straightforward. So what we can do is back in our Combat controller. I'll put this here, public audio clip. And this is going to be BAP. Sorry. And then I'm going to do public audio clip. So I've got POW and BAP, which are sounds that I made for you to use. We'll save that. So again, now that I know I can refer to them, I can go in and basically here is BAP, here is PEW. So I should rename that PEW, but I'll deal with that later. So now I've got references to those in my class. I can then now one of the things is that you know that you need an audio source. So we're going to create an audio source. Actually, I'll just call it all right. In our case, on start, I'm literally going to go and be like, audio source is going to be add component. Sorry, be game object add component of the audio source. So I don't have to worry about like the level designer not getting or the artist getting this right. I'm just gonna add this in code, and honestly, perfectly fine because I'm gonna deal with this audio source completely in code anyways. So I don't need to have the designers worry about this. Let's go down to our fire, and we'll just go down here and basically, so on the audio source, there's a function called play one shot. And it's going to ask what the clip is. And in this case, I'm going to do sound. Do BAP. I'll use Pew later on. In fact, just so that we've got this built in for the raycasting, we'll just do. So the other button will do something. We'll hear it. The last thing that I'm going to do, just so I'm going to stay with this one moment. We'll hear an issue, and we'll come back and we'll correct it. But that basically pretty much what you need to do to play sound. If it's an interface, it's a 2D sound. If it's these firing attacks have to be 2D, given how we built the game. But if you were building something in the world, with our camera, then those sounds would be played, like a first-person shooter. Then they're being played, you're shooting from over there, they're being played in the world. So then the audio source would be, that would be the first thing, is that the audio source would be set to, again, let's go back and look at our level. Look at the level of music. So again, stereo pan, not stereo pan, spatial blend. Again, we can look at, the audio source, spatial blend. Get set, goes from 0 to 1. The other side, again, the pitch. Now I'm gonna put this pitch. Actually, I'll do this right now. Pitch is equal to do 0.9 f plus random range. Again, there's a float version and there's an integer version. In this case, it's going to be 0 and 0.2 f. Why is it yellow? Oh, it just wants range. There we go. So here we go. I've got the version. Yeah, so now they've just called it range. So it's going to go from 0 to 0.2. These values right here, like these 0.9, these 0.0, 0.0. These I would eventually turn into variables. Yeah. So this is like when you've got numbers, you're hard coding numbers. That's a bad practice. Unless there's a reason, you have to have a good reason to hard code a number. All right. Like right now, I'm gonna leave this for a moment, and then I'm gonna go back. I'll add variables. So let's go back and just go. So now we'll press play. And you can see right now that the pitch is being shifted. You go to tank. You can see is the audio source being that's been added. So you can see again All right, why? Let's take this. Let's take this line of code out. Let's jump back in, and you'll hear the difference. And that's going to get monotonous and tedious over time. So that's what the pitch shifting is doing. It's just giving us a little variation in our what we're playing, so that we're not playing the same thing over and over again. I mean, could you build this where there's a shift where it goes up? Absolutely, that's possible as well. Also, you might have more clips to do that as well. Have a you have different notes that you can be playing, and they're in a list or an array, and you're just incrementing that as it keeps going up. Let's go back. So let's go back. Let's return. Zero is usually okay. So let's put a public float. I mean, we could do a minimum maximum, but I'm going to do a pitch floor 0.9f public float pitch range is equal to 0.2f. Everything okay? Yeah, okay. Let's jump back down. So now we can go down, and so this is going to be pitch floor, pitch range. And I could have done min max values and set the 0.9 to 1.1 and then do the math, and we could have done things differently. Pitch floor. I mean, pitch range is basically the range minus the floor. I mean, min minus the max minus the min. So this allows me to go in, and I can go and be like crazy on this, and be like 0.8, 0.4. Or let's go even crazy, 7.6. This is gonna sound really weird. Things you can do, not always good things you can do, but I'm just showing you that, hey, again, let's get this back into, like, again, we can do 0.995 and do 0.1, and it's going to keep moving. So again, just shifting it just a little bit is going to give you just variety of sound, so it's not monotonous. But also don't go too crazy, and then you get these wild variations. It's an art. This is why you create variables so you can find it. And that's the other sound effect. Let me see, and I haven't signed these here, so let's just make sure we do that so we don't forget. So, and then we can go back and just grab this line of code and drop it in here. And then we can play it again. massively. That's why. Like, what am I listening to? There we go. There you go. So that's where we're going to be. I mean, I've done a lot of extra things. I'm going to grab all those pieces and I'm going to bring them into Lab 7. Because, like, why not? Don't feel bad if you don't get to the sounds. Don't worry. I'm going to give you the pieces now, and I'll give you the pieces now. Don't worry if you don't get to the sound this week. All right, you will get to the sound. You will do sound. Don't get me wrong. You will be doing sound. You'll get to it. But ultimately, there's we've got multiple things that's going on right now. The big thing is that you're starting fresh. You are literally ripping out all of your input code to use the input polar input polar and input data classes. They're going to make your life much easier. Again, you saw how easy it is to make changes to that class as it is. Again, I'm going to give you a new version of that class on Canvas. So I will pull all the files for the audio example, and we actually didn't even look at the audio example. Funny. But there'll be an audio example file. The WAV file, the MP3, and the copyrights for them will be up into Lab 7 as well. So the decals and the music is there to have fun. Make this your own. It's okay to use these files for this week, but as you can move on, go to Incomptech, go to FilmMusic.io, go find assets. They're out there. There are tons and tons of free and royalty assets. How did I copyright these? Yeah, I mean, I created the VAP and Pew sound. They're under Creative Commons 3. Just as long as you say I created them, you're good. It's under attribution. So if you use them in a commercial project, hooray! Have fun. Just tell me I created them. That would be in your credits somewhere. These are the music, the credits for our music. These were attribution. And you shouldn't be worried about, as an academic project, you don't have to worry about crediting me or the copyrights. There are 2 copyright files. They're text files. So as long as you keep that with the project somewhere, you'll be fine. So, but don't worry too much. You're in an academic setting. I'm giving these freely so you have something to play with. Are there any questions? Okay, I'm gonna back off. I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta update the lab document to tell you to do more. But you won't be done with this lab, like with the combat game. Like next week, we're gonna just focus surely on just raycasting. We're gonna talk about raycasting, and then implement it into the game. Any questions for me? Actually, I might move. I've shown you the music and the depth decals this week. I might make that a feature of the next week's lab, just for the sake of spreading out material. So don't worry. Yeah, this is don't worry about. You will do this, but don't worry if you don't get to it this week. Any other questions? Any concerns? All right. I'm going to end the recording here.